Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this installation of the Many Things IT podcast. I am Andisiwe and I'm with the team. Say hi, guys.
Hi everyone, Sylvia and here.
Hello. It's Tipho Shabalala.
Thank you, thank you. Are we going to have one of those days where we talk about everything, or it's one of those days where we talk about nothing?
It's anything.
We'll talk about many things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you say anything?
I don't know.
No, it's many. Okay, sure.
Is Jürgen Klopp's brain fog?
Okay, let's try
That-
glue past my mind, but it's okay.
You should see it. You should see that video. Just check it on YouTube. Jürgen Klopp brain fog. Yeah. So yeah.
He had a tough year. Give the minute.
No, he's by far one of my favorite people in football. I think he gives the best interviews, but this is not many things football, right? So
I know. Just as a diversion to football. My favorite personality in football. Balotelli. But yeah.
the younger guys will probably won't remember Super Mario, but he's one of those. But yeah, speaking of many things that aren't IT, um, what's been weighing on my mind lately is that issue of the submarine. So, as a context, a few billionaires or rich people got on a submarine, went to the bottom of the ocean to explore the remains of the Titanic, and it basically ended in tragedy. Now,
has it been confirmed though that it's a tragedy? Or it's still that point that on Thursday they were left with 30 hours. Has
yeah,
it been confirmed that it's tragedy?
The latest update, which I think came on Friday, was that they had actually found debris, pieces, fragments of
Of a case?
the vessel. I don't know what to call it because
Okay. All right.
and from the fragments floating around, they, I guess, could reasonably conclude that no one could have survived
Yeah.
the whole thing falling apart.
yeah. But
May their souls rest in peace.
indeed.
I think I'm looking at it from a evolution development of society. It's daring people that have allowed us to be where we are in terms of the things that we use. People that take risks. Some of them, of course, result in such tragic situations. Of course, it's one of those things where we raise many questions. For example, I spoke about the vessel being a case because it's what has been said quite a few times in such a, but basically it is the gist of the matter is without serious risk takers, we wouldn't be in society.
Completely agree. Completely agree. May their souls rest in peace. I echo that. My question on the subject would be, does technology, in a way, allow us to experience some of these things without actually subjecting ourselves to what may be exorbitant costs or very high risk? I know Apple just came out with the Vision Pro, where it's a VR headset. You can, through augmented reality and virtual reality, you can probably explore the depths of the ocean or the moon or whatever, but it's not as significant a cost as flying on a SpaceX rocket, or the risk of taking a Titan under water? So that would be my question. Do you think it's a like for like experience? I know the both of you are well traveled and should
Yes,
I assume.
to me, it's a yes and no type of thing. I don't think it's the same. The experience, the adrenaline rush, and everything related to that. I don't think it's the same. And it does give some experience. You have seen it also with, for example, 3D videos or movies. It sort of moves you out. It sort of gets you a little bit more into the actual performance, but also at the back of your mind, you are still aware that no, I'm not.
You're not
I'm
actually
here.
in there.
So it will be like that. I mean, learning technology, it's been quite some time, some years, where when we have learned certain technologies through simulators. It is good in terms of giving the practical experience, but nothing beats the edge and knowledge that a step here results in a actual physical tragedy or physical things physically going. If you are learning, for example, Cisco, there are many networking problems. You can actually do a config, full end-to-end configuration of a route. But it's a simulated environment. If you make a mistake on the simulated environment, yes, the worst you can get is not to get full marks. If you make a mistake on an actual router, it can result in something very bad happening against your the rest of data. Yeah, we are configured. It is good as best as possible. You want to experience that. However, I do think that there is an element of excitement that comes with actually doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with people. In terms of, I don't think it would be the same, because when you are in the simulated environment, there's that element of safety. It's not as risky as, for instance, going on a spacecraft landing on a planet where when you actually land, there are so many things that you could experience that you hadn't anticipated, because maybe the space probes they sent before were just able to tell you, okay, there's water in this environment, there's actually enough oxygen that we would be able to survive there for a while. This is the situation in terms of gravity. We'll be able to move around in the same way we do on Earth. And also physically being in that environment, like Tipho said, there's that adrenaline, that excitement, but also there's other things that contribute to the experience, from a sensory point of view, where you actually get to in some instances, touch and feel and smell, so that those environmental factors are also now influencing how you're experiencing that space. Yet when you are on the VR headset, you can experience as much as the technology can simulate, basically, but definitely won't be identical.
Okay.
Yeah.
A question would be, would you tick it off your bucket list items?
Of course. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I've driven many Bugattis in the Gran Turismos and in the whatever.
Yeah.
But if I were given an opportunity to drive a real one, I would hop on that.
Mhm.
I just think it's a great conversation that we're having, and I'm just going to use it as a precursor to the next set where we are now just talking about artificial intelligence and how our conversation has been around going out there and experiencing, having a human experience of everything, having a physical experience of everything. Now, do you think artificial intelligence will get to a point where, or maybe if it is if it is at that point, that would be interesting as well, but where it basically simulates or generates something that would be lifelike, something that you would expect from the human experience and only the human experience.
I I wasn't believing it until a certain point. I think anything is possible right now. The whole body of knowledge is seeing quite frequently groundbreaking developments. I'll make an example. Google was your most common source of knowledge. Okay, not search engine. Google, of course, dominating the market, so much so that I'm not sure how much you have used Bing or WhatsApp, but basically,
Basically Google.
search engines have been, and in all fairness, for every right reason, because that was your first point of contact in search for knowledge. And then boom, you have a ChatGPT. And how many versions of similar
Mm.
have been released already? It's quite a lot. And if you look at, if for example you have AI being able to transform Tipho, who is not a creative, and actually position Tipho as if he is a creative. I mean, what is it that we think right now? AI cannot grow to provide, because remember, the whole concept of AI is that it builds on information that it has, and any new information sets that come in every day, it actually improves its impact and its outputs and that. I do believe that very soon, and in the streets and we will be engaged with AI driven
Self-driving cars.
AI driven individuals.
Mm.
We can talk about self driving cars, but do you imagine an individual, a technological individual that you send to go to Pick and Pay to do stuff for you? Of course, I know there are so many angles to this which are being done by the service industry, especially in those developed markets where you can actually go online and do whatever. Where, for example, if you order this item, there will be other items that are being suggested for you because so many people that have ordered this
Have also
have
ordered.
also ordered that,
Mm.
and facilitation of delivery. But I do believe that instead of having house helps that are human, very soon we'll find those kind of things being human developed.
So just on that, those companies, especially online, that give you suggestions based on basically what other people have purchased, which is similar to what may interest you. That is basically companies and people who utilize data to market, right? So they make data-driven decisions and data-driven marketing, etc., to appeal. And what we've seen is they have, at a great degree, dominated over people who sort of shoot in the dark. Yeah. Now, the next step of that, of being data-driven, is AI. My question is, are we confidently going to say or predict at this very moment, Sylvia, are you going to confidently predict that companies that hop on AI first are going to gain advantage, so to say, over companies that don't?
Um, I'd say yes, but I'll also say it depends. Depends on the business itself that you're pushing and how much of it is reliant on your non-AI driven elements. Because depending on what you are selling, be it product or service, but at the same time, because the AI is continuously learning and getting to understand different data sets and different environments, I think if applied and used properly, a lot of different business sectors will definitely see significant improvement. And the people who hop on it first will reap the most rewards. Because if you are hesitant, so the early adopters will definitely gain more in terms of advancing, in terms of revenue as well. So hopping onto it 5-10 years later than the market leaders, you'll still benefit, but financially you'll be behind because, well, these people have been reaping the benefits maybe for 8 years before you decided to stop hesitating.
Okay.
For me, it's a definite yes. And I'm saying this because we live in a society and a community that isn't technologically advanced for us to actually see and experience these things every day. But I will ask you a question that says, how many people can you say have independent of thought that you interact with?
I don't think it's many.
I think over time as a society, we have allowed ourselves not to grow independent of the community that we live in. Which then means if you can have on any industry, if you can have an AI driven service and using the body of knowledge and finite set of decision making information that we use as a country, 1 million people, it can literally be able to actually take decisions that are closest to what we would or any individual would typically take within our community.
Yeah, if it has enough data.
Yeah.
And in it accumulating enough data is based on it interacting in the market.
Yeah.
Whether it's a market hitting home, or it's a market for festivals, or it's a market for banking, it's a market, whatever market that it is. Because Asangvegis, in a household that has, I'll just take an example, electricity as a service. There are certain decisions that we take in a household. Within a week, you can actually predict. Someone wakes up at 5 to switch on the geyser, and then switch off the geyser when, and then disconnect each dryer because you don't want the dryer to be used during the day. Those type of things. We become very predictable. And that is how we interact with different services that we consume. And most of the decisions that we take are not necessarily independent decisions that say, this one is unique to them. And today, people take this decision, tomorrow he won't take a similar decision in a similar situation. Typically, they would, every individual here would typically take a predictable type of decision. So if you have a clever enough AI solution, within a week, you would have predicted something. Basically, if you are an entity that has its market as sorting, you can actually literally drive people to spend money, whether it's 1 cent, 1 rand, and whatever, into it. I do believe that it's there. Probably the complexity is in skill, available resources, and that to be able to invest in that type of functionality. There is a conversation. I think we've had this conversation around the cost of data, because everything then lies on that. But as Sylvia says, those industries, those entities that are now already on the bandwagon, those ones will continue to dominate globally because they're experiencing and they're failing fast. 20 years later, you will jump on it and you will reap the benefit. But that would not have been cumulated benefit that is based on your own experience. It would be based on somebody else's experience, and yours is just to take care of it. But those that are actually invested in R&D right now and to develop those models, groundbreaking stuff. Go back to ChatGPT. It is not like there hasn't been any attempts to actually build a solution like a ChatGPT, but look at how it has taken over everyone and everything. Where those of us that work in corporate spaces, we're actually trying to find a way of how do we manage adoption because of certain risks, whatever. There are certain fears, there are a lot of fears, but everyone is engulfed with this.
Everyone's excited. Everyone is trying to make use of it, to test it out and understand how it works. Of course, like you said, because of how things work in corporate spaces.
Yes.
There are those restrictions, limitations. So people are doing that exploration outside of the work environment.
Yes. But also are being left out because also there are some, for example, there are some sites they provide learning and provide experiential support, experiential learning on ChatGPT that are not openable in our country.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. There's a lot that you said there. Just want to pull you back a bit. You spoke about how, yes, it's something that we've mentioned before, how there are these constraints that prevent us as a society, local society, not international, from reaping maximum benefits, skill, resources, etc. Is OpenAI's ChatGPT or Copilot or what's that? Bard? Yeah, those off-the-shelf solutions, do they give enough for us to say, yes, maybe we'll not um, yield as much benefit as people who have massive data centers and access to all of these resources, but can we get value?
Okay, let me answer your question in this. If I were a government or a leader of society, as close as possible to where massive country impacting decisions can be impacted, I would do something I'll do something like this. But before I go there, do you know that some of the most disruptive cybersecurity incidents globally are coming from Asia,
Yeah,
Yeah.
North Korea,
yes,
to be specific.
Mm.
North Korea is a third world country. North Korea is a country that is a dictatorship. It's so much of a dictatorship such that whilst there are some imposed exclusions that have been imposed by the globe against it and its population, the country itself also imposes its own exclusions of its people, protecting them from
External influences.
external influences and information that can corrupt them. There is a funny point in 2010 during the World Cup in SA. North Korea had qualified for the World Cup. They played a match in Devon. I think it was against Brazil. They lost 1-0. They were in the same group with Brazil and Portugal. They lost 1-0. That game was not being broadcast inside the Korea. But on learning that their team had fought so gallantly against Brazil, the dictatorship in North Korea ordered the national television to broadcast the next game, which was against Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal. Anyway, they lost 7. But information is so controlled such that the people will actually know what they've been allowed to know. But I'm talking about the disruption the country has in the cyber security space in terms of incidents. It's because there's a deliberate action that the country has done. They have taken some of their bright minds from young ages and actually deliberately took them to the best universities, technology universities in China and the US, given them hidden identities. They continue to indoctrinate them such that they hold so dearly the national agenda, but they are learning these things. they are learning them where they are. And then they come back to use those skills in labs, incubated projects and programs to develop capabilities and capacities that they use in the cyber war. Their cyber war is meant purely and purely, yes, to disturb the world order, but basically it is meant for fundraising. Quite a significant amount of it is for fundraising. That is why most of the SWIFT attacks, SWIFT targeted attacks, SWIFT systems targeted attacks are coming from the inside of the wheel. A typical incident which broke out in Asia in 2016, where in excess of 1,000 and whatever ATMs were used to throw money from a South African bank. In terms of the reports and the investigations of that incident, there is a fair agreement that those are sponsored by South Korea. So if
Sorry, North Korea.
North Korea, yes. If
Allegedly.
If I were in those levels of decision making for a country, then it's what I would do. I would actually deliberately take the brightest minds and expose them in developing certain types of skills. AI, those and those and those. But of course, for the better good. My better good would be to then bring in those skills to develop a knowledge economy, because service is it's what drives the economy. Of course, you still have the base economy, which is physical, manufacturing, and that. But on top of that, all of these industries and entities that thrive, they are thriving because of service.
You know what's crazy? In the 20th century, Taiwan was actually an agriculture state. They basically made a significant portion of their GDP economy. They built their economy of
Rice.
rice and basically what is hard labor. Now, fast forward literally what century over, they are highly technical.
Yes.
Foxconn,
And making very, very significant contributions in health.
of course.
And health driven through technology.
Yeah. Foxconn is one of the leading chip manufacturers. They manufacture for everyone, literally everyone. They're a Taiwanese company. So if leadership,
It's the same with China.
Yeah.
So
it is actually.
Mao Zedong actually led what called an agrarian revolution. Basically, he went to the peasants and he actually organized the peasants to actually say, let's take over. Let's take over the running of the country. But where you've seen China advance quite significantly is when China not necessarily changed, but also
invested more.
Yes, also realized that we cannot just be an agricultural focused economy.
Yeah. So my next question then is still based off everything that you said. Should we be worried? Should people be worried about AI coming in, taking over what may seem like mundane and low-level jobs, but to people out there, it's basically their livelihood?
It's definitely a cause for concern, because the scenario where we are able to upskill people so that when we assign those mundane tasks to AI, they're able to then transition to other jobs that is the ideal scenario, but it is not necessarily a scenario that can be applied in each and every country or space. So there would be a significant impact for certain people.
Yeah, I saw a picture on, I think it was on LinkedIn, where it was a building that was incomplete, and there was just on the scaffolding, there was uh, it was written, it was basically a post on the scaffolding that says, ChatGPT finished this building. And then basically said, don't worry so much. But I know for a fact that that's what we call a blue collar job, right? We know there is no way AI takes over agriculture, for example. There's just no way. It can only supplement. But is it
But with the
bad for
building,
white collar?
but with the building, it wouldn't be AI directly, but things can advance to a point where we have built robots that can actually do the construction.
So let's say technology in general.
Mm.
Let's say technology in general.
Not just AI.
Okay. Yes.
I'd like to use practical examples that are closer to home. Why is it that there are tasks that we used to have people doing in the home that they are no longer doing? Dishwashing,
Mhm.
washing clothes.
Mhm.
Now in washing clothes, they just need to come in, forget impahla, or we were thinking about it. Don't you think you will have 20 years from now, you will have a situation where the impahla, yours when you will have to put them in a basket, and then technology will take over from the basket through your neighbor, through Aina, through packing.
I mean,
It will be.
I'm getting a vacuum robot sometime in the near future. So,
So it will.
The flat round one?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's just go around.
I've been considering it, and I've actually seen a demo. So yeah.
So the thing about it is the same principle applies in production, industrial production. The reason why we went and embraced a dishwasher or a washing machine for clothes, it's because we argued we don't have time. We argued we're not as thorough. We argued we can't rely on house helps because they may call in and say they can't come or they whatever it is. There are so many reasons. It's the same thing in industry. For example, in manufacturing, the most efficient manufacturer leads the market and makes the most money.
And that efficiency
So right now, yes.
driven by technology.
Yes. So what then drives people to research on how they can drive those efficiencies? It almost always leads them to technology. Of course, it starts with process. Let us bed a process. The process will have QA in between. Someone who checks if you've done the best configuration in your sewing machine or the cutter, but you still have a sizable amount of reject products. Some of which then dominate the thrifters market, for example. But to circumvent that, you have developed this process, but through this process, you still don't have the right efficiencies. You still have a lot of wastage. Why don't you invest in a technology-driven cut, which is going to cut things or pieces of clothes, pieces of material that will then be sewn together to make a jean, for example, to the same size and then taking it into a soul imaging technology to take it into the wild. Those are the type of things that drives this technological developments in entities. All of those entities that have not then embraced, researched and embraced how to improve efficiencies, all of them have got that over time.
Yeah, to your point, the American car industry, which was probably the biggest at some point in time, was big in Detroit. And basically Detroit basically fell over.
Yeah.
Because instead of people hammering car panels anymore, now it's just machines. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
But also, there is something that I've been thinking about, AK. Yes, there is an attack from technology to the blue collar jobs. And now it is extending to the white collar jobs. Question I have is, if it is the case, why is it that some of the most technologically advanced economies have the lowest unemployment rates?
I think we always resort to fight or flight because of our fear and resistance to change. I'll give you an example. The train is probably second, third most oldest form of transportation. Still in the business today. But instead of having multiple people shovel in coal, you just have a few. Making sure that the customers in there are receiving a quality service. So it's a thing of we fear change, not because it will make us obsolete. I honestly don't think, just like all of these advancements and all of these evolutions that we've referenced, it basically did not make humanity extinct. So this generation also won't make people extinct or irrelevant. It's just that it will definitely call for people to move out of their comfort zone. It will call for reskilling and upskilling, which for most of us is not appealing because we are so comfortable in doing what we've been doing the way that we've been doing it.
So essentially what you're saying, Andy, is all these changes require us to be more adaptable, more open to learning and upskilling ourselves, so that if I've been working in a factory packing boxes and then suddenly there's a machine that can pack the boxes more efficiently to utilize even spaces that were unreachable for me as a human being. If I'm able during that transition period to learn another skill where I'm able to then move across to working in something else. So it doesn't necessarily mean now that there's a machine that packs boxes, there's nothing else I can do out there.
Yeah, which is basically common sense. It really is, because it really is, because the thing is, we are saying, all these companies and industry, they are influenced greatly by efficiencies and eliminating waste. And in your example, if you're the first person to learn how to operate that machine, trust me, you are the first person whose job will be safe. Right? So if you fight, if you are kicking and screaming, if you combat change, it will definitely affect you more
The
than
time you spend fighting is
Yeah.
time you should be spending learning how to work with it and not against it,
Of course.
essentially. I have a question.
There are those situational circumstances where it becomes inevitable. Not all of you will remain.
Mhm.
Of course.
So how then do I adapt to that if I am the 18 or 25 that will have to exit?
Be the first to learn. You will move to that 7 that remains.
No.
You can also be the first to learn something else,
Of course.
For you
because
to wait.
it's not about no.
18 are going to go home.
Yeah.
So how then do those ones adapt or
Bounce back. So
bounce
Learn
back?
something that will be able to place you even in a different industry where they possibly are opening. Okay, back to
It's a tricky one, eh?
yeah, it's very tricky. But I have a question. Going back to adaptability.
Yeah.
In a society like ours, so if our technology advances to the point where people transition to different roles, different responsibilities, new careers altogether, how adaptable are we, even from a recruitment perspective? For instance, to say, okay, I'm looking at CVs right now. I can see that Andisiwe is an engineer. That is his background. He is currently applying for a role of an auditor. Are we even that adaptable and open-minded to consider and to keep in mind that people do that have the capacity to learn and to completely reinvent their careers? Or are we still that stereotyped in the sense that from the moment when you are shortlisting, just, when you have those CVs, you're like, nope, doesn't fit the profile, and completely set aside? Because the adaptability and really us being able to make the most of the changes that will keep coming, it needs to filter through to the different sectors as well.
I think maybe I feel like that's a two-part question. And as far as the individual who wants to seek a new path, I really think no human being is a one-trick pony. I have seen it. I from the top of my head, I know someone who went to UJ and
I
did
can give you
engineering.
a list myself.
Yeah. Now he's literally a leader in a different field that literally has nothing to do with engineering. So I don't think human beings are a one-trick pony. I don't think they can be limited or should be limited to things that they may or may not have done in university or wherever. As you grow, as I have grown, I have realized that a lot of learning is out there. You just have to do it. If you say, I want to, I want to be a doctor, just start somewhere and then move forward. There's a gentleman who is really good at his job, cybersecurity job. He told me his background was in aircraft repairs. How did you transition? He went out there and he just did
And
it.
he learned.
Yeah. So that's for the individual. And for the companies, basically, it's the same. Just no human being is a one-trick pony. There's a lot that is being said currently on those motivational side of things, where they say higher attitude, you can then train the
For
person.
skill.
Yeah, you can train skill. If a person is willing to learn, they're willing to grow. give them a shot, even if it's not something that matches anything that they may have on their CV. But that's just my hot take. I see
If
people
if
holding
leadership
it in.
if leadership was a prism of people that have studied leadership, Oliver Tambo would have been the lowest president of the ANC because he was a chemist. But that said,
Leaders are born.
now that said, there is a TEDx
Mhm.
that I watched some time ago. I will paraphrase. This guy was talking about success stories, saying so many times we've heard person A saying, my success story, I went to this school and then graduated in what top of my class, and then I got this job. And then from this job I went to this job, and from this job to this job. And then he says most of such success stories forget to state a certain element that says there is an advantage that I had, particularly in the job A or C. Sylvia, who was already inside, recommended, or she did this or that. I qualified, but I actually needed also that.
Yeah.
that help. So our recruitment, particularly advertised recruitment, unfortunately, the process of shortlisting will then be defined to say you're looking for qualification A, B, C, D, E. So if you're looking for a person, or if you're a person that is looking to transcend into another profession, and then only purely relying on submitting a CV, you would not make the shortlist. Most people that have transcended from one professional background to another successfully, so from my observation, most of them have had a certain opportunity to demonstrate that opportunity to be able to demonstrate what I can do in that other space has most often given, at least people that I know, have given them that opportunity and age. They get that opportunity and they shoot the lights out and prove to those, not prove, justify to those that gave them the chance that they made the right choice. So the question is, if you studied law and you believe that you are so good at development, for example, if company X advertises and say they want a developer, and then you submit your CV to say studied law at UCT and the top of class and that ends there, you won't make the shortlist. But if over and above that I've studied this, and then you're able to demonstrate
A portfolio.
a portfolio,
What you have done in the development.
it may actually say, listen, this person, if you look at qualifications in terms of what we're looking for, I don't think they are, but this person has provided this additional portfolio. And let us
Hear them out.
hear them out. You may find that you are able to. I think that is my 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 take in this. Because it is really, especially in an economy that is like ours, where I saw some scary stats. I'm not sure how accurate they are. In terms of their source, they did not cite the source. They're talking about 58% unemployment rate on graduate youth. That is quite scary. In an economy like that, if they say we will just state that I did social science measuring in sociology and what, and not go further to make it stand out or to make yourself stand out, I don't think you would have an opportunity. But also, I don't mean to say if your CV makes you stand out, it is a given that you will get the opportunity to engage. Probably you also do need to look at other avenues. What are those avenues? How do you use social media to actually expose yourself to a potential customer and potential employer? Okay.
Can I just take this moment and bring up two things that I feel are relevant to anyone? The first is no one is self-made. Literally, no one is self-made. With that, if you need anything, you should just go out there and engage people and talk to people. Let people know your story and what you're about. And chances
why networks are so important.
Yeah. And then the second thing is positioning. Positioning has a lot. That's a thing. I don't know if it's a real thing, but it's a thing that I created myself, I believe. Where if you want to be a CEO, you go on LinkedIn, look for CEO adverts in whatever industry, and just look for what they want. If they say they require 15 years work experience, if every year that you work, you are working towards that. So you are pushing yourself to a position where you are best positioned to get what you need. So those are two things that I use to basically steer my ship, and I found them quite useful.
How are you positioning yourself?
At this very moment,
Yeah.
I'm positioning myself for retirement.
Isn't it a bit early for that?
No, it's not. Nice.
It's never too early for retirement.
Nice. That is never too early. There are economies where the unemployment is low, employment rate is low, but also people never retire. Because at any point in time, your skill and experience still be required. And also through self-employment, you can retire from non-self-employment.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there is a lot that you can generate of value, the experience and skill set that you wanted to tell.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you a story about how I met a very prominent person in the country. A very long time ago, there was a program called Smart Partnership. I was in high school at the time. And we were having a conversation around high unemployment in the country, how we can cut that. My suggestion was just lower the retirement age. I mean, people get out of university and literally have nothing. People get to the end of their careers, they're tired, but they're also pensionable, you know. And it would bring in an injection of bright ideas and energy. But that was a fantasy that I had in high school. I do wish that at some point the retirement age is lowered in the country. I know I sound villainous for saying this to the guys that are employed, but it would really do wonders in as far as the bottom line and the progress of us as a society. But on that note, I am going to basically wrap up today.
So who is the prominent person in that conversation?
I'm not going to tell you the prominent person.
No, okay. I understand you can't drop the name, but I was hoping, I guess, for a part of the story that would speak to what your interaction was with that person.
Okay, so Clearly, I'm a horrible storyteller.
maybe how it then influenced your thinking or whatever.
I really
Exactly.
think there is no way of convincing me as a person that the retirement age in this specific country of Swaziland should be 60. You can't convince me that. Um, the prominent person was senior at the time, and his initial reaction was, "Bantu bethu bafuna ukusixosha emsebenzini," you know. And what was what was interesting in that interaction is he understood exactly what I meant, and he understood exactly where I came from. I was in high school. I was not employed. I was at the at the at that point in time, at that point in my life, I had a 58% chance of being unemployed. Right. So
So here's my take to this whole retirement and whatever conversation. So particularly in an economy like ours, that is so much high level unemployment rates, particularly youth unemployment rate. I'm employed. I've been employed for 20 years, which is, in theory, there's quite a lot of experience that I have gained as a person that is. And to be honest, with everything going well, I have accumulated sufficient experience and skill sets to then be able to survive on my own. So
that's outside of employment.
that is outside of employment.
Maybe let's call it formal employment.
Outside of non-self-employment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean by
Yeah.
formal employment.
So if that mindset can be put on the nation, so now we're now talking about national vision. And a vision of a nation, in my understanding, should be developed and enforced, made popular on people, right? A national vision, if it speaks to productivity, it must actually say to me, you, and everyone, the ultimate goal, the zone you have achieved if you have done this. One of the things that you have done should not be self-employed, but it should be creating employment.
I feel that. I
You
feel
understand?
that. Yeah.
So that everyone from entry, they know that ultimately their responsibility to this nation, it is to create employment. And then the system of employment churns me out, let's say at 50, churns me out of formal employment or employment by another thing, because I have this duty to perform to this nation. But ours does not. It does not create that sense of duty. To an extent, it then creates people that are dependent on employment, even in their most unproductive state. The fact that they wake up
at 60,
the fact that they wake up, go to the bus station, wait for a bus that takes them to work, and then they loaf around at work, and then come out and go. And then when a new person comes in at work, they actually feel threatened and they do. Yet, if this person knew their mandate exactly, that your mandate is to, at the least, by 50, you should be self-sufficient, and your duty is to is then to create employment of others through your skill and experience, and that probably would have a more energized work environment. That is non-entitled, because right now what we see, it is worse in the public sector, the state and level of entitlement. What is quite scary is that you also do see it in the private sector.
Sure.
This entitlement, I am entitled. This should be done for me.
I was here
These should
first.
be
Why is
exactly.
people getting
I was here first.
promotion
This should be
when you
done for
just
me.
arrived?
You should take me to training. You should train me on this. You should protect me from losing my job. I'm seeing quite a lot of that.
But you know what's one other possible outcome that I foresee in what your idea? We would actually see an increase in the amount of people that I can call, for lack of a better word, self-made millionaires in the
Yes.
country. Because what it would mean is the country encourages you and gives you opportunities to then venture out into
There's
things
a
like
sense of
business
truth.
and consultants.
But as it stands, in the public sector specifically, we have created an environment where you wanting to retire early is something that you get penalized for. I'll make an example of someone who wanted to retire at 55 for medical reasons. There's a long and convoluted process that then goes back to if the government doctor doesn't feel that your medical situation
Yes.
is really dire for them to be comfortable signing it off, then you don't get that signature, you don't get a chance. But also you do get the signature. There's a certain amount of your pension that you have to forfeit because you have exited early.
There's the downside to
So
it.
yeah,
There's the downside to it, and probably it would be interesting to have an engagement with pension fund experts. But of course, to me, we should encourage people to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, and
if at 50,
and-
be it a medical reason
Yes.
or whatever,
yes,
I am requesting and I'm of sound mind.
yes.
Why should there be a penalty?
Allow the person to go. And another thing, AK, the first 10 years, the country would suffer.
Of course.
Because the people that are 48 today, 45, 43, they have not prepared themselves enough to actually exit at 50. All of their planning and whatever is geared towards 60. Most of those people, it would suffer. The enterprises that they would try to establish, they would suffer because those people are also not trained to sell. To sell for survival. They're selling and then they're selling for survival. But what you're going to see over time, over a period of 30 to 50 years, the person from a young age, they know that their sense of duty to this country is to create employment.
Of course.
From day one, from the time they open their eyes, from 7 years, from 12 years, they would be aligning their mindset towards that. And what you start seeing, you start people actually at 30 saying, I've gained enough, I'm going out.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Age 25, I'm ready, going out. And what you then start seeing is you see a very dynamic type of economy. Because right now we're literally, there are instances, okay, of late it is bad. I would say it is bad. There are situations where you'd find a person who retires from electricity company or from sugar bed or whatever, a truck that is taking them back home. They are asking questions now, where are we going? Where do we offload? Because people have literally been living in those staff quarters without preparing for retirement. I think over time people have learned they've been prepared for retirement by building a home. Because what they would then start doing is to take the retirement money and build homes. But in the same vein, it has become bad. In the same vein, if people are geared to creating employment, at least by a certain, there is an upper limit by 50. At 20, people will start doing that.
Yeah. So my suggestion to this gentleman was it has to be gradual. You have to start at 59, lower it to 59, 58, 57. I think my proposal was 55 at the time.
But your gentleman
But-
right now is above
Is-
70. also.
No, I think at the time,
I'm saying
he was
right now.
above, he was above.
I'm saying right now, your gentleman is way above 60. And he's still holding to responsibility.
So I really think that sense of purpose would fire people up in the right direction. Of course, there will be the occasional falling down of one or two there, but overall, the country would be better for it.
Someone would say, how is this linked then to technology? From my proposal is based on the premise that technology provides the best opportunities for self established enterprises.
Yeah. So it's the tool.
It's a tool.
I've been trying to cut you guys off for the past, I don't know how long. So to wrap up, what is your favorite TED talk? Doesn't have to do anything with technology. What is your favorite TED talk?
Yo. So the one that I mentioned was one of my favorite. Was one of my favorites. And I don't speak to names and what, but I would know content of what.
Okay, so we'll put it on the link.
Yeah, we'll put
Okay.
it on the link.
Put it on the link.
And then probably one of our audience members here can help. If you're in Southland and you know where one can learn carpentry, part-time, weekends or evenings, please do drop in those suggestions.
Are you trying to
I-
be a carpenter in your advanced age?
Yeah, getting ready to practice what you preach.
I have been doing it, but I just want to. There's some
To
gadgets
hone
that I
your
want.
skills
Yeah.
and touch up.
Yes. I understand
what
my
you're already
mandate. I understand
practicing.
my mandate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sylvia, favorite TED talk?
Top of mind, nothing is popping out, but I'll definitely share in the group.
In the bio.
Okay, there's the link. Let's see. I'm actually going on YouTube because I have this one downloaded on my phone. My favorite TED talk is. Oh, this thing is gone. Sorry. I think it's called The 7 Hindrances.
So when someone has prepared themselves out, it's like, it's being contrast with that.
I was actually
And then he goes to consult on his device, finds the kingdom.
Yeah. So my research is gone.
that we should probably try to have some kind of a brief of general guideline. What's the direction we're taking today? So that if necessary,
I like that.
we can do a little bit of homework.
No, I like that. I like the lack of structure. It works best for me.
You think so?
Yeah, it works best for me.
Actually, okay, I hear what you're saying.
So while Andisiwe is still searching, I heard him mention 7 biggest hindrances or something. Why is he still searching?
Oh, it's 5 Hindrances to Self-Mastery
Okay.
by Shi Hengyi. Yeah, you should watch it. It's very zen and calming. And you were saying?
No. I was saying. I actually listen to a lot of wide variety of content, but something that does come up every now and again. I've been trying to avoid it at some point. It's content that involves certain. It makes sense when you listen to it. There's some aspect that are on the physicality of it that that I'm trying to try and take interest to actually what is it that music is doing.
I have successfully curated and filtered my content such that I hardly ever come across content from certain people that I feel like, you know what, this is not going to work for me.
Not to me. It's fine. I'm deliberate. But I've listened to everything.
Mhm.
Like when I say everything, I mean everything. The most things that I will close them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please allow us to go.
Yes, close off. I've been waiting for you guys to close off.
We've been waiting for you and your son.
I told you about the 5 hindrances to self mastery. Go out there, watch it. Put the link in the description.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Guys, thank you very much for the chat. Bye.